Of frantic action, but we're here once again for the iR-04 challenge. It's been an amazing first couple of weeks of action around Austria and then also at Watkins Glen last week. Myself, Cameron Roger, bring you through the action along with Ewan O'Leary here for the third round here at Sao Paulo. It's going to be a great, exciting race once again. This Dallara iR-04 has been proven to be great on any sort of track, and I'm sure it's going to be the same once again. And Ewan, your first time back on Friday Night Prime for a few weeks. This should be a good one.
It certainly should. It's been a while, but I'm glad to be back once again. It's obviously a new car, relatively in the lifespan of iRacing, and it's been relatively popular so far. The racing has been pretty decent with it as well, so that's all good to see. And hopefully we do see some good racing at what is a really iconic race circuit, of course, in the world of motorsport, and should provide the entertainment for us here tonight.
Absolutely. It's been so close between lots of these drivers over the course of all the different tracks that we've been to. And as we said, Interlagos here today, I'm sure is going to be good once again. The long straight, it was really sort of multiple corners as you come up and climb the hill towards turn number 1. It's going to be, a big braking zone into there before coming down the hill once again towards turns 3 and 4. It's going to be, so exciting to see how we do. We had Will Redford and Matt Caruana having an amazing battle last time, and I'm sure we're going to see that once again as we're seeing Lewis McLeod here, number 12, coming around onto the back straight, and let's see what he can do in this qualifying session.
Absolutely, keeping a very beady eye on him in case he makes any mistakes. Of course, our very own here at RaceSpot doing a few things here and there. So it would be funny to see him off the road, but it doesn't look like it's happening for the moment. Just trying to get to grips at the moment, get on with this qualifying session. It's not a very long one. You've really got to get these lap times down very quickly, and around here at Interlagos it is relatively easy to just go that little bit wide and get that off track, which will of course invalidate your lap time. So you do need to be a bit careful, but also push a bit, of course. You don't want to be starting right near the back.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to, and you're right here, the track limits in a couple of corners are certainly where you really need to start pushing the car. It's got big wide curbs around this track. Most of them are quite flat as well, and especially in these open wheel cars with 160-ish horsepower, you need to really use every single one of them and get the momentum coming out of the corner, especially this one coming into the final corner. You're going to see the drivers going all over the AstroTurf to get the run up the hill. This is going to be an important corner in the race, because if you lose a couple of tenths there, that is just going to carry all the way down the track, as we're getting a couple of times in already. Partonen at the top there on a 34.7, but so close with Hayden 2 tenths back.
Yeah, it will remain probably quite close till the end of the session as Lewis McLeod comes over the line at the minute to go into a decent position of the top 10 at the very least. But Partonen set the pace initially. Now it's McIntyre up towards the front. William McIntyre in the number 1 car. The highest I rating of everyone in this field here by quite some margin, I've got to say, by about 1.7k. So he is definitely expected to be up there, and he certainly will be by the end of this. But as you say there, that final corner before you get onto the big straight at Juncal there is very important indeed. And it's going to be exceptionally important in the race when you're trying to set yourself up, of course, for a move.
Yes, it's one of those tracks where it flows really well, especially in these slightly slower cars. You can really use the absolute limits of the track and really get a nice rhythm around the corners. They don't come sort of too close together as you can get in the slightly faster cars, and it's going to work out to be really good. But obviously coming up the hill here through all of the kinks, this is going to be the main talking point of the track, is getting that run up towards the start-finish line, and even on the final lap we might see an overtake here or there, as we saw last week. Actually, the two leaders coming across the line as Partonen there improves, but he's still almost half a second off McIntyre though. That's a great job by McIntyre at the front there.
It is. He's put some real distance in between himself and the rest of the field there, really, as some drivers now get towards the pit lane. Unlikely to see him pushed off that perch. He's probably going to be the only driver to get into those 133s, although Nicholas Taylor has done a very good job there to get onto the second row at least. Dion Santos gets himself over the line now as well, slipping down the top 10, but goes straight back up there into 6th place. So not many improvements through the second lap times there, early on especially, but towards the end we really did start to see some of these drivers come across the line a bit quicker than they were before.
Yeah, I think that's Dan Kell up into that 4th place as well. So a few laps starting to come in. And as we see, Bradbury there jumping up into 2nd place, just shy of 3/10 off McIntyre, who's still got a bit of a stronghold there on that provisional pole position. But once again, we've seen this quite a few times recently. Look how close that midfield is from Santosh there. As you see, just a few tenths to get yourself down to sort of a 10th, 11th place. It's going to be so close in that midfield once again, and hopefully a nice battle at the front between those top 2.
Yeah, it's not the most kind of twisty and technical circuit, and there's some quite long straights to Interlagos as well, especially when you're in cars like these with not much speed down those straights. It will keep the field relatively close together, really, so we are expecting to see some good racing. I actually think that Ted Bradbury there got up to 2nd on his 1st lap of the day, decided to wait that little bit longer before going out there. And, oh, well, I was about to say he might be able to push McIntyre off the top step of the qualifying standings at least, but that won't happen anymore. Just a bit too eager on the throttle coming through. Pinheiro there out of the left-hander. He goes for a spin and he's going to start from 2nd, but he's got every chance of being right up there in this race. He's a lot closer to the top than everyone else, there's no doubt about that.
Yeah, certainly. You got to push the rear tyres around here, though. There's a lot of the corners, as you would expect, have that sort of acceleration phase out of it, whilst it's relatively known actually as quite a fast flowing circuit. All of those corners, as I said, you're really pushing those rear tyres on acceleration. There isn't really the long flowing corners where you really think about the front end. It's a lot about the rear, and as you see there, you can easily go over the limit. There's a number of corners around here that you're going to have to look out for, otherwise going to be going for a bit of a spin, and especially at the start of the race with how close the field is. If you do a spin like that, you're going to be losing 5, 10, maybe even 15 places.
Yeah, we spoke about how close together the midfield is there. I absolutely would not want to be starting in the midfield at all. I guess starting at the back's not great, but you really do want to be in the front here because it is so packed up in the middle, and any incident is likely to happen right in the middle, and you're likely to get caught up in it if you are indeed in that real mid-pack. So that's pretty not good for those guys who are in there. But of course, it's the last time we'll really be heading to a real big Grand Prix circuit, if you like. For a few weeks now, Spa at week 7 is the next real big Grand Prix circuit that I can see on the schedule. We've got some smaller ones, some narrow ones like Laguna Seca, Road Atlanta, Brands Hatch coming up over the next few weeks. A lot different to what we're going to see here tonight at Interlagos.
Yeah, you're right, and this car works well around all different types of tracks. So I think, as you say, Laguna Seca next time out, I think is going to do well. But let's get the grid anyway for today's race with McIntyre and Bradbury starting there on the front row, which is going to be so close with just 3 tenths between them. We've got Partenham and Pettinari there on the 2nd row, followed by Dan Kell and Nicholas Taylor to round out the top 6. Santosh and Transnitz there for the top 8. Then we've got Gakirti and Hayden for the top 10. Vico and Shorbauer there rounding out the top 12 before we move on to the next page with Lewis McLeod and Calor there rounding out the top 14. Fox and Boitega rounding out the top 16, I should say, with Mage and Pluton rounding out the top 18. And then towards the back of the grid, we've got Boberg, Dukes and Corsetti for the 21 car grid, or at least 21's setting times here as we come towards the grid. And obviously the run up the hill means some of these drivers can't obviously see the braking zone for turn number 1, which is going to be so important around this track.
No, yeah, it's a weird starting line here, and if we had double the size of the field as you can get on iRacing, some of the drivers will be starting round the bend there and starting on a downhill slope, which is always a bit of a difficulty. But yeah, it's one of those rare starting grids that are absolutely not flat at all. They will be pitching uphill first of all, and that does mean any bad start will be a little bit magnified. However, they'll be very thankful. It's not the longest run down towards turn 1 we're going to have all season.
Yeah, it's a pretty short run, but it's certainly one you can get a jump on when we get towards those red lights going out and the start of the race. We take a look here at Partonen. I think this is there towards the front, the number 2 machine, as the lights are coming on, and when the session gets green, we'll be racing here at Interlagos for the iR-04 Challenge, 3rd race of the season, and away we go up the hill. Who is going to get the best start? It looks like McIntyre's held the lead for now, and Parton is actually trying to come around the outside. That'll turn to the inside for turn number 2 if he can make it work, but he's actually just backed out of that one for this moment, taking the safer options. We're getting some side-by-side battles a little bit further back as the drivers all running through nicely as we come around turn 3 for the first time.
Yeah, just keeping his head screwed on just a little bit there, Parton, and by staying in that third position, he knew that if he went round the outside at turn 1, he'd get the inside for 2, but he'd also know that McIntyre would get away. He doesn't want to let that happen, so he wanted to stay in line. A little bit further back, though, the battles are continuing on, and they're really starting. It's the best opportunity they'll have all race, arguably, to get up the order, and so some of those further down really trying to make up places early.
Yeah, we got a car spinning around the back then. That is a bit unfortunate. That might be Traminitz as well. So coming up through the massively fast sort of turn 6, turn 7 area of the track. Cars still going side by side. We've got Santos there in the number 5 machine in the middle of the pack, trying to make up some positions, but a little bit further behind. They're still trying to go side by side as they're trying to work their way into their formation as we come out towards this sector 2 part of the track. But already there's a number 7 machine of Hayden going around the outside once again. This is quite a sequence of corners that goes left, right, and you can really do the undercut multiple times. But here we come through Jinsao up onto the straight for the first time. Who's going to get the slipstream?
Yeah, it's all that very important, of course, that very important slipstream, that very important exit off of the final real corner of this circuit. But you're on this straight, if you can call it straight, for so long that the slipstream effect is really, really magnified, and so it does mean that you can catch up even if you are a few car lengths behind, as you're seeing in the background there. But Bradbury and McIntyre choosing to stay together. I'm not sure whether as Parton gets the grass into turn 1 and goes off, and we'll have to be under pressure for third as well. But Bradbury and McIntyre, I'm not sure if they were actually bump drafting, but they were certainly very close running down the straight there.
And that's a technique we've seen quite a few times in this car, trying to break away, as we're seeing the cars once again. Loads of side-by-side action as the car was spun there, coming out through turn number 1. A bit of a theme going on for some of these drivers as Taylor there jumps up into 4th place. Pettinari there dropping down into 5th as drivers still try and work their way into a bit of a single file order. But this midfield, look how close they are, still going a bit of side-by-side with Danko here on the back of Santos as we come up the hill.
Yeah, this is, I think, Pluton and Boitenga who have gone around here. This was at turn 4, the Desida de Largo on the first lap, and then at the end of that lap, or might have been Will Schwaubauer as well, because he came into the pit lane at the end of that lap. Also seen Luca Corsetti off. That was the black car you saw off through the Senna S for the second time, as there's another car spinning. That looks like it was Yannick Hayden in the 7 car going around at the exit of the Bico de Pato. He'll be get back going again, but another car to drop way down.
And let's look at this lead once again. A bit of push drafting as you come up the hill. I think you are right, Ewan, on that first lap. They're really just trying to push each other away, literally inside the gearbox of the car ahead is Bradbury, trying to make that gap, because they know if they can get out of that slipstream, they can get away from the guys behind, they can start having a bit of a battle later on in the race. Only 20-minute race, so not too long, but certainly one you can still use a little bit of strategy to put yourself in the best position possible, and they're certainly doing that. They got a 2-second gap now to Parton, who'll be ruining that mistake a little bit earlier in turn 1.
Yeah, it certainly will. I was slightly doubtful anyway that he could stick with these two guys given his pace, but even so, that mistake made sure of it. This is Hayden just getting too wide on the exit of the Bico de Pato there, and he went for a spin. That curb is surprisingly deadly, really. You look at it there, well, he does get quite a lot of grass as well. He's completely on the grass there, isn't he, really? And that's exactly why he's gone around there. But you don't want to be all over that curb there, as he certainly was in that occasion, because that will spin you around. The curbs are very, very wide here, I guess is the right term for it, but you can get your whole car onto them, but that doesn't mean you especially want to, especially when you're trying to put the power down. You can see here just barely putting half the car on the exit there, even though they're trying to maximise their exit off of that corner there. They're not putting all the car over, and you'll see here as well, Juncal, the famous opening up of the corner going on the right-hand side, and then just running that little bit wide. McIntyre, you see how his run was kind of disadvantaged by that, going quite so wide onto the AstroTurf on the outside. You don't want to go all the way out there, because it will hurt your run a bit, but Bradbury doesn't really care at the minute. He's just trying to push these two away from the rest of the field. Yeah,
and you do have to think, do you want to be leading, or do you want to be in second place on the final lap? As the run up hill is very good indeed, as Pettinari is getting that place back on Taylor in towards turn number 1, and that was a bit of a nice move there with the slipstream, and no contest in the braking zone either, as we're getting a bit of a 3-way battle starting to form now for that 4th place, as Santos has pulled away a bit from Dankel in the background for that one, so this battle is going to be going on for quite a while, but certainly the slipstream is starting to work its way into a bit of action.
Yeah, it is. It's starting to form these battles nicely. Partner's going to have quite a lonely race by the looks of things in third place, because Pettinari is going to have to be looking behind at Taylor here, just trying to defend Santos here as well. With Dankel trying to get involved. Then we've got another group of 3 just in about for 8th place. Then another slightly larger group battling over 11th. So yeah, trains are starting to form, and this tends to be what happens, and that's exactly why McIntyre and Bradley are almost working together in this stage of the race. They don't really want to be back here with these guys, and the unpredictability of racing in such a large group.
Yeah, the group racing is, it's where you earn your money and where you earn your iRating and things like that, along with the public races as well. As we've got the number 12, that is Lewis McLeod, the fellow commentator of ours. Unfortunately, he had a bit of a mishap last week in Watkins Glen, and here at Interlagos he goes for a spin again, and that is unfortunate because he's dropping down the field to about 16th place, it looks like. But as we come back to this battle once again, we're going to be seeing the slipstream towards turn number 1, and surely someone is going to make a bit of a move. It looks like we are 2 wide in the background. Can't quite see who it is, but they're going to be looking for a dive, surely down towards turn number 1. I think they actually back out of it. No, they didn't. Santos got past Taylor there, up into 5th place. Yeah,
not sure how Nicholas Taylor lost that place, really, because he had the slipstream of Pettinari in 4th place. This is how it happened. We might not be able to laugh at Lewis McLeod too much. Oh, no, we will. He's gone around on his own. In his defence of what was 11th place at the time, I don't think there was contact here. Just take that wide entry. He just leaves space. Oh, was there contact there? I'm trying to see from the car behaviour, but it was very close if there wasn't.
I think we're just going to say he spun on his own, because then we at least have that on him. But fair play for him to coming out, and maybe next week will be the one for him at Laguna Seca, because as we said, the last 2 weeks haven't gone quite the best for Mr. McLeod. But I'm sure he will come back. Ever a front-wheel drive specialist as such, a bit of a different car here in the iR-04, but it's producing some good racing. As we see the replay here of Santos and Taylor battling towards turn number 1. That was very close, almost a little bit of contact. And actually, you're saying he had the slipstream, but in the end, I actually had to pull out of the slipstream to defend that, did Taylor, and that is pretty much why he lost it.
Well, you say you had to pull out of the slipstream to defend. I reckon if he'd stayed in the slipstream, he might have been able to defend a bit better. I know it's on the inside line, but if he'd have stayed in the slipstream, then he would have hung Santos completely out to dry there, with no slipstream at all. And it's very hard to beat a train of 2 cars when you're out on your own in all the air out there. So I reckon he actually would have been better staying on the outside line there, but I do understand wanting the inside line into turn number 1, of course, but it didn't end up with the position on that occasion for Taylor. And 2 of them nearly ended up in the pit wall there. Of course, we're still using the old kind of, well, I don't really call it that old. It's not really that old, is it? Since they redid the pit entry and all of that at Interlagos, but the old-fashioned kind of way of doing it, where everybody nearly hits the pit wall every single lap they go round, is kind of back. And yeah, the 2 of them nearly did there, and that's why it was quite so close. But they're all off again down towards turn number 4, and Taylor has made up one of those places again, albeit at the expense of Pettinari this time.
Yeah, and Santos has made up another place after that 4th one as well. So this battle's changing positions every lap so far this race, which is good to see. And the 3 are in a completely different order once again. I think Pettinari will be sort of ruining sort of the mistakes of the last couple of laps, being overtaken a couple of times, dropping down to that 6th place. But that just shows you how easy it is to lose places, as we've now got the 2 drivers of Taylor and Santos getting close once again through this mid part of the lap. And this is where you want to get close, because then once again you get the run up the hill.
Oh yeah, you just want to stay... Oh, goodness me. Santos goes straight off the road and very wide. Unbelievable. He's just gone straight to the wall there, and he's gone... He's tried to get the best exit possible, and he has done that, but at what cost is my question, because that was remarkable. How has he not got anything for... Surely this has got to be some kind of mistake.
I think that was some tactics to get a better run, but somehow he hasn't got a slowdown or anything like that.
No, he absolutely meant to do that, and it's paid off somehow, but that is very questionable ethically about whether you should be able to do that. But anyway, he's gone through and he's maintained 4th place.
Yeah, I don't know if... I mean, obviously he hasn't got a slowdown or anything like that, so it has worked out from that point of view. But yeah, I don't know from the sportsmanship side of things if that is one way to hold on or make a position. But either way, that's worked out for him this case. I probably would have done that myself. But back to this battle for the front. Bradbury in 2nd place is sat behind McIntyre there. for pretty much the whole race now. Surely, at some point, he's going to go for this, but he must just be waiting. As we come back, and we've got Tramnitz here having a bit of a battle coming up the hill once again. Then we get Geraghty having a bit of a spin. No, a bit of a spin, having a bit of a dive, I should say, down the inside there, making up a place as well. As there's also spins in the background. There might have been Lewis McGlade off again.
Yeah, it looked like it. Tramnitz, though, losing 2 places there in a matter of corners, really. Vico got through into Ferradura, and then at the 13 following through pretty quickly after that. Well, that was all a bit of contact, and then 21 spins into, well, sort of into Lewis McGlade on the inside there. Don't know if there was contact once again, but we're about to find out here. Or did he just spin on his own again? Well, he had to be fair, he had to adjust his line there, not to smash straight into the side of the spinning car, so he can maybe excuse that one, but the first one definitely was on his own. But yeah, that was all just a bit messy down towards turn 4.
Yeah, we've seen some good battles. We've also seen some messy ones as we're getting a bit of a run towards the pit wall here. Geraghty having a bit of a think about it, but then also trying to dive back with Tramnitz as well, side by side in towards turn number 1. Who is going to come out on top? It looks like it's going to be Geraghty there getting the place, but unfortunately it's not going to be easy for him to defend this as we come towards over the pit exit down towards turn number 4. Desigo Delago, let's see who comes out on top of this one. The Williams livery there on the outside, not quite making up on the braking zone.
Yeah, some very late defending from Geraghty, I have to say. In some of these corners, Tramnitz does look to be stronger now. He's got the slipstream to his advantage. Outside line into 4. Oh, he wasn't sure that he was going to get the room there on the entry to Ferradura, and so he backed out of it, going up the hill through that very fast right-hander. So he stays behind for the moment, but yeah, he's.
Oh no!
Dear.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh, and the wheels off as well, the right rear, and that's an end to Lewis McGlade's day, I'm afraid. That is a rejoin that he would be screaming at if he was here right now. But anyway, it's the end of his race, unfortunately.
Yeah, he did sort of half realise his mistake after moving in. We've seen almost a dive there into Jinsao, which is not what he wanted to be able to do. And in the end, it's going to be Geraghty there having a bit of a spin, dropping down multiple places there. Not sure if there's contact or not, but either way, he lost the rear end and is going to be dropping, I think, 3 places as Dukes just gets past as well.
Yeah, these two up front has been a lot calmer. Let's see all what happened down here and towards turn 4, shall we? Oh, that one wasn't his fault either. That's the second time in 2 laps he spun around and very narrowly gets avoided. And then that is not good.
Yeah,
dear me.
The issue is that obviously, as we always say in these situations, try and just remain still where possible. Because the issue is obviously he started to move. So the driver went to the left, but then he stopped again. So if he went for it, he should have either gone for it or stopped. But anyway, that is a difficult situation to be in, and that's why we see it so often for multiple drivers. When you're sort of facing the wrong way, you want to get back in the race, as quickly as possible. But unfortunately, sometimes it does end up in a bit of a contact there. And unfortunately, McGlade out of the races. Bradbury is starting to look up the inside there, and here is the replay once again a little bit earlier. Definitely wasn't contact, but I'm not sure if he would have liked that one too much.
Yeah, you see it from here. Tramnitz just did distract almost, I guess, into Junkau. So it did the job, and he's straight through there. I have to say, by the way, not only is the damage model looking very good on iRacing in these cars, but the sounds when you do have an accident, so you don't want to, but they're quite nice. They're quite realistic, and they're quite good. So yeah, I'm very pleased to see the damage model, of course, but obviously we'd rather not see the damage model because it means people are getting into trouble. But either way, these guys certainly aren't up front. About maybe 4 laps to go here, and the 2 of them are yet to fight each other, really.
Yeah, I'm sure the developers and the test team had a lot of fun testing those new crash models over the last couple of years. That I'm sure was a great experience to be. But back to the front, Bradbury. He's been sat there behind. He's been having a little dive here and there. He's been thinking about it. He's come up to 5 minutes to go now. Is he finally, at some point, going to be making a dive? Surely he's not going to settle for this second place.
You wouldn't imagine so. He's certainly not going to settle for it the way it's going right now. The 2 of them are not going to run like this till the very end. I think it is, go back to your point, probably more than 10 minutes ago now, about where do you want to be going on to the final lap. That's what it's going to come down to, because the run from the final corner to the line here is one of the longest that there is on this calendar, or on any calendar really around the world. So where do you want to be on that final lap there? where do you want to be coming into the final corner even? Yeah, it's hard to know, because if we look at it, we can try and judge it now. Bradbury will already be doing the calculations here at the moment. Will I be able to get my nose in front by the time we get to the line here, or will it take a move into turn 1, into turn 4 on that final lap? You can see the slipstream here. The way it's, if he comes into the final lap this far back, or the final corner this far back, he's not going to win the race. He needs to be a lot closer. Does he trust himself being second and getting close enough onto that final lap?
He's actually in a very strong position, because at the moment he's sat behind. So McIntyre knows when he gets close, he's just going to bump draft him. At some point, Bradbury can play his card and just dive it to the inside and try and catch him by surprise where he's not expecting it, because as you see, McIntyre's not doing any sort of defensive line. He's not doing anything too crazy. He's just driving his race and getting pushed along, but surely he's going to be thinking about how that one is going to come out. As we see this battle once again with Taylor there in that 5th place, just leading the two of Pettinari and Santos as well. Sorry, Santos leading that group of Taylor and Pettinari as well, so looking like it's going to be working out pretty well for those guys. But of course, there's still plenty of racing still to go, with about 3 or so laps left.
Yeah, the 9 of Mej, by the way, have been off somewhere, and I think Tramnitz is off as well at turn 4. He gets back going again, but will drop well outside the top 10 now to 13th position. Oh, and off the road for Geraghty somehow.
What? How is he at that part of the track? That's halfway up the straight. I wonder if there was a bit of a helping hand in that one, because yeah, unless he just completely lost it on the curb on the exit, I guess, but that is about halfway up the straight where he was. As we're seeing once again, that is an interesting line from Santos. This time it hasn't worked though, because Taylor has got up the inside, and that is also going to be a slower run. So Pettinari is probably going to be getting involved here as we come up towards the start-finish line. So Santos tried that tactic, but this time is actually lost him a place.
It might have done, and Pettinari staying well out the way of those two, trying not to get involved. He's going to switch to the inside, is Santos, into turn 1. Taylor with the outside line gives him the inside for 2, but he doesn't want to be a part of that. Santos breaks late and he continues on in 4th place, but once again very, very questionable going through the Junção corner there. That is going to be a lot of people shaking their head watching this probably at the minute, but yeah, that's how we saw Tramnitz going around earlier on. That was through turn 4. I do believe, by the way, we have finally seen possibly a change for lead, or possibly a battle for the lead finally.
Well, hopefully we can just see that one work his way out. But McIntyre obviously is still leading the way. Bradbury's getting close, but I think it's just every now and again McIntyre seems to be picking a little bit, and I think that's why, as we're seeing a bit of an issue there, that is not the way he would have wanted to go out.
No, it's a technical, I'm afraid, and just as he was finishing the crash, the wheel came back, which is unfortunate. Geraghty out of this race because of that, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I do think these guys did have a little bit of a battle there. Whether it was down towards turn 1 or turn 4, I couldn't tell you, but they certainly were not running like this the whole way around. Now, though, we are starting to get towards the final lap, and it is going to be between these two.
It certainly is, as we're going to be coming to start the final lap of the race. First or second, where does Bradbury want to be? Is he going to make the move now, or is he going to wait until he comes to the start-finish line? McIntyre defending this time around. Bradbury going to the outside, almost a little bit too wide there onto the grass, but McIntyre's gone deep. He's over the grass. Can Bradbury come on and retake the lead? There's almost going to be some contact between the two. But Ted Bradbury gets ahead of William McIntyre, and that, I think, is going to be battle over, because McIntyre's lost about 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, he's lost a lot of time there. That is probably the race-defining moment right there into turn number 1. Here he is again, on board with McIntyre. He's on the defensive line, he's on the inside line, but he's way too deep under brakes. He's on a different line, of course, going into that corner, and so your braking markers all do change a bit. They're all on the other side of the road. He rejoins again with a big bump and a crash and a bang, but thankfully doesn't go into the side of Bradbury, which it could have easily gone. And so the 3 car looks like it's going to cruise to a victory here. McIntyre going to see this race slip through his fingers, I think.
As we're also getting small battles on the final lap, Santos has managed to get himself back up into that 4th place. Taylor right behind, and also don't forget Pettinari trying to work this one out as well. It's been a great race here at Interlagos as we are on this final lap. The last opportunities coming up for these guys. Santos, is he going to do his special trick coming up towards the line? We'll have to find out. Just one corner to go for himself, but it's Ted Bradbury leading the way up the hill, managed to get the place on the final lap in turn number 1. Tactical masterclass, really. Waited until the best opportunity, and coming to the line, it is going to be Ted Bradbury here to win the 3rd week of the iR-04 challenge from McIntyre there in 2nd place, who led pretty much the whole way, but it almost 3 wide, coming towards the line. Who is going to get out on top? I think Santosh might just lose this at the line. No, Taylor, just by a few thousandths of a second, doesn't get in, finishes in 5th place. Santosh kept 4th with Pettinari in 6th.
Yeah, great race to the line between those two. Pettinari was trying to get through there and might have got both of them, but kind of got stuck there on the inside line with nowhere to go. But this is what happens in this car. It spends so long on the straights, the drafting so important, that you can get photo finishes. We just saw for 12th as well, with Tramnitz just outpacing Luke Mez there for at that 12th place. Yeah, all the cars coming to the line pretty much in groups and in photo finishes all up and down the field.
Yeah, once again, an amazing race here. It is so amazing just how this car works at so many different tracks. It's yeah, it really amazes us every week. Doesn't matter if it's a Formula 1 track or a little club circuit, it just seems to work, and the action continues no matter the venue. But we still have 9 weeks to go in this season. Plenty of tracks still to come. Laguna Seca in a week's time, followed by Road Atlanta and Brands Hatch as well. Your next 3 tracks coming up. It's just been an awesome evening of racing. But that pretty much rounds it up here for the iR-04 challenge. We'll get the results on the screen to confirm what we saw. There is Bradbury taking the lead by 1.3 seconds in the end from William McIntyre, who made that mistake, that crucial mistake, which lost him the lead. Then Parton in 3rd place. Santosh, Taylor and Pettinari doing an amazing job to do some brilliant battles there during the mid part of the race and also towards the line. Dan Kell in 7th place with Alexis Vico in 8th. Harry Fox and then Jamie Jukes rounding out the top 10 for coming on to the next place. And these guys, we saw quite a few spins and issues happening for multiple of these drivers. Only the top 18 finishing on the lead lap in the end. King Garrity there at the bottom, we saw him having a spin, for instance, as well. And also Yannick Hayden there in 11th place. So yeah, the top, so the 10th to 20th place there, having a few issues here and there after this 13 lap race. But certainly a very entertaining one, and I'm sure that is going to continue as well. Before the final classified driver there, Lewis McLeod, 21st place, 4 laps down, unfortunately. Let's see how he does next week, which is going to be the WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. It's going to be a great one. 20 minutes of action coming your way in 1 week's time. This has been the Friday Night Prime here on RaceSpotTV. Myself, Cameron Roger, and Ewan O'Leary with Arjuna in the background. And until next week, we thank you for watching, and goodbye.